The Instagram's influence actions are allegedly rooted in a psychological need to be seen as the ultimate heroic suffering caregiver. The child became an object, a prop, used to generate sympathy, likes, and financial donations from a vast social media audience, all while the mother inflicted harm to feed her own desperate psychological need for attention. This crime was a sustained, conscious act of psychological and physical betrayal to satisfy an internal pathological reward system. Stick around because I'm going to provide my mental health analysis of the poisoned influencer. I want to mention here that this case is still ongoing, and the names of the influencer and the child are not revealed publicly, so I'm not able to use the actual images of this case. Also, I wanted to let you know that the child in this case is reportedly safe and healthy. Now for my mental health analysis of this case. Imagine following a devoted, doting mom on Instagram. You donate to her GoFundMe. You leave comments of support as she chronicles her young child's terrifying life or death battle with a rare illness. Now imagine finding out that the entire story was a sophisticated lie, that every single medical crisis was created by the mother herself, all for likes, sympathy, and money. That's the bizarre, devastating reality of the poisoned influencer case. My mental health analysis here is more about the psychological indicators of what drove this crime, and not as much as the crime itself. This isn't just about a woman accused of fraud. This is a textbook demonstration of one of the most insidious forms of child abuse, often referred to as Munchausen by proxy, or the clinical term, fictitious disorder imposed on another. Welcome. I'm a licensed professional counselor, and I don't just talk about the crime. I talk about the psychology behind the crime, what drives an individual to such extremes. And if you're new here, hit the subscribe button for more mental health breakdowns like this one. Today we're analyzing this case through a clinical lens, but I'm not diagnosing, but rather examining the disturbing mental health indicators that turned a loving caregiver into an abuser. The first and most crucial mental health indicator we see is the need to assume the sick role by proxy, fictitious disorder imposed on another, FDIA, as I'll refer to it in this case, or Munchausen by proxy. It's defined by this core drive. The perpetrator is driven to be seen as the heroic, selfless, and suffering caregiver. The attention, the sympathy, and the emotional support are the rewards. In this case, the social media platform, Instagram, and even TikTok became the perpetrator's stage. The timeline for this case from August to October 2024 shows this escalation. This influencer didn't just lie, she allegedly administered unauthorized medications and manufactured symptoms in her child, creating a dramatic, ongoing health crisis. The child was hospitalized, and the mother was allegedly rarely, if ever, away from her bedside. This unwavering devotion, which seems loving on the surface, is a major clinical red flag. Why? Because the attention is focused on the mother, the person courageously enduring this trauma. This condition is considered rare. Studies estimate that the annual incidence of FDI to be roughly 0.5 to 2 recipients per 100,000 children under 16. It's statistically rare, but we need to look at the motivating factor beyond the attention. The perpetrator often gains a sense of achievement and control from deceiving medical and social authorities. They feel powerful when they can trick a doctor or mislead a high social media audience. The financial fraud is a secondary gain. While money was sought through GoFundMe, the primary driver for the true FDIA diagnosis is the internal psychological reward of the attention and control. The money is just proof that deception worked. And that leads us to the second mental health indicator, and one that is often comorbid or combined with FDIA, is pathological lying. It's a history of pathological lying and manipulation of narratives. We can speculate that maintaining a lie of this magnitude over a period of months and convincing medical professionals requires an advanced level of deceptive skill. Pathological liars create a reality where their false stories are internally consistent and often highly dramatic. The online environment is the perfect breeding ground for this type of deception. Experts studying Munchausen by internet note that the asynchronous nature of online communication allows the sender, or the perpetrator, more time to optimize their self-presentation. They can craft the perfect tragic update, complete with filtered photos and tearful deceptions, without the immediate face-to-face social cues that might expose a lie. The bizarre complexity of the symptoms the child was allegedly facing is also a key marker. Perpetrators often have a high level of medical knowledge and use complex, vague, or shifting symptoms to maintain the diagnosis. It keeps the mystery alive in the medical team and Instagram and TikTok followers guessing and engaged. This case started with suspicion in the hospital on October 15, 2024, when medical staff noticed discrepancies. The medical history simply didn't line up with the physical evidence. The first crack in the facade. The final set of indicators focuses on comorbid personality traits often found in FDIA perpetrators. Now, comorbid means a combination of symptoms. And again, this is a speculation based on clinical trends. It's not my diagnosis of any individual in this case. Studies have found that individuals with FDIA often have coexisting personality disorders, such as histrionic or narcissistic personality traits. Histrionic traits involve patterns of excessive emotion and attention-seeking behavior. They thrive on being the center of attention and are often highly dramatic. Narcissistic traits involve a profound lack of empathy, a grandiose sense of self-importance, and a great need for excessive admiration. In this context, the child becomes an object, a prop, used to fulfill a narcissistic supply. The child's suffering is a completely secondary to the mother's need to be seen as a dedicated martyr. The ultimate betrayal here is a complete disregard for the child's well-being. This is not just a medical crime, it's a psychological torture. The child was allegedly poisoned and subjected to unnecessary medical intervention, while the mother simultaneously exploited her story for financial and social gain. Her arrest was in January 2025, brought this terrifying story to light. The complexity of this case is why it has resonated with so many. It forces us to confront the fact that in the age of social media, the sick role, historically confined to the hospital walls, can now be broadcast, curated, and monetized to the masses. The perpetrator is not motivated by money alone, as I mentioned earlier, but by a desperate psychological need for connection and validation. And she got that from online social media presence. A need so powerful it drives them to inflict harm on the person they are supposed to protect. As we continue to watch cases like this unfold, remember the key indicators: the constant seeking of a sick role, the manipulation of the narrative, and the underlying personality structure that prioritizes self-gain over the safety of the victim. So what did you think about this case? I know I'm really glad that the child is safe now and healthy. We want to focus on the mother, and she has clear mental health struggles here that she needs to get help for. We want the child to grow up to be healthy and also have a connection with the mother. But this story brings to light something that happens a lot, even when we don't realize it. And if you know somebody, or if this seems familiar to you, make sure you reach out for help. Thank you so much for joining me for this analysis. If you found this clinical breakdown helpful, please hit that like button. It helps this video reach other viewers interested in the psychology of crime. And if you want to stay up to date on deep psychological dives into the hottest true crime and pulp culture cases, make sure you subscribe. Up next is another analysis of the case involving extreme deception. Thank you for joining me today, and until next time, stay curious, stay safe.